All right, folks, what is going on? This is episode 504 of the First and Frame Rate Show. I am VF Baller. Over here, we talk about Georgia Southern and Atlanta Falcons football. And today we're going to talk about the three rookies for the Atlanta Falcons. Three rookies that have made an impact on this team. And not only that, these guys are going to be pretty much the catalyst, the pillars. They're going to be the cornerstones of the future of the Falcons. I think Terry Fontenot, Arthur Smith has done a phenomenal job of getting these three guys ready for the NFL. I kind of wish Desmond Ridder played a little bit earlier, but that's another story for another day. Because, knowing what we know now, it's a different story when it comes to that. But we're going to talk about all three of these guys, and I'm going to give you my thoughts and opinions on where this team can go and what should happen. What is happening now is actually supposed to happen. So we're going to get into all of that. If this is your first time here, welcome. I can be found on YouTube and Rumble. I'm also on Anchor, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts. You're going to start to see a lot of changes here in the room. I am about to tear a lot of this stuff down. For the most part, 2023, we are going to be moving into another space. So hopefully that new space will have a more brighter and more vibrant look for my show. And it's all going to be a work in progress. So 2023 is going to be a really big year, not only for myself and my family, but for the show as well. And you guys could tag along, right along with me. So if you're watching on YouTube and Rumble, not much has changed in here so far, but there's going to be some changes very, very soon. Also, I want to thank you guys for the support. I really, really appreciate it. All the YouTube, Rumble, views, the Anchor, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts. You guys on the podcast side of things is doing phenomenal. I cannot thank you guys enough. And we're going to go ahead and get into the show. Let's go ahead and do it. All right, Desmond Ridder finally got the start 3 games ago. And from one game to the next, he has been improving. He's done a phenomenal job getting things together as far as learning the offense in real time, actually getting the offense in one accord on actually trying to command the offense, getting these guys together to actually go in the direction of be productive, looking at the progression of some of the receivers that are out there, the tight ends, watching the defensive lines and directing the offensive line to block here, go there, actually making decisions once the ball is snapped. Actually, throughout this entire time since he's been starting, it hasn't looked too bad. Me personally, the numbers aren't there for my liking. I wish he would do better on that aspect. But for the most part, when you look at when he started with the Saints, threw for 50%, 13 of 26, 97 yards. That was really, in my opinion, it wasn't good. But he actually had no touchdowns, no interceptions. He didn't turn the ball over. The Baltimore game, once again, probably playing against the toughest defense he's faced out of the 3 teams that he's played. 22 of 33, 218, and no touchdowns, no interceptions. Actually completed almost 67% of his passes, which is actually really good in the NFL. And then there was the Arizona game where he actually, the numbers don't tell the story because, like I said, I'm not big on these numbers. But watching him play against Arizona, albeit it's Arizona, he played a pretty good game. 19 of 26, 169. 73% of his passes were completed. And no touchdowns, no interceptions. He did lose a fumble, but he bounced back. So one thing about this is that I did not like the fact that he lost the fumble. It was actually detriment to the team because Arizona turned right back around and scored. But Desmond Ridder went right back out there and continued to play his game. And that's what you want to see out of a quarterback. Just you're going to make mistakes. I mean, no quarterback is perfect. You're going to make mistakes. It's how you respond to those mistakes is actually make you who you are. And these 3 games is a small body of work to show like, okay, we have something here. Albeit it may not be, exactly the type of quarterback that everybody wants because you can't please everybody. But he is making some type of strides to show like, okay, we may not need a quarterback in the first couple of rounds of this of the draft. He looks like he can take control of this team. He can take command of the offense. So even back in the days in Cincinnati, what he was able to do there, going up against certain opponents, he was able to show like, look, I could play the game of football. I could play quarterback. So with that being said, I don't know what's going to happen in his next game when he goes up against Tampa Bay, but I think he's done enough to at least, go into next season as the potential starter. Now, will that happen? I don't know. I mean, I'm not here sitting on the bandwagon of, Desmond Ridder. I really don't get on the bandwagon of any, professional player. Now, you talking about Georgia Southern, that's a different story. I mean, I'm extremely biased when it comes to that. But when you look at the Atlanta Falcons, it's almost hit and miss because, I mean, you could love one player, then that player could be gone or that player could fall off. But I like what I see with Desmond Ridder. I think we have something here, and hopefully it will build into something. The next person I want to talk about is Drake London. Drake London, from day one, has been showing that he could do something really, really good at the position of wide receiver. And him and Desmond Ridder has some type of chemistry together where they're actually looking pretty good. It really showed in the Baltimore game where he had the most yards receiving, and he was actually able to connect with Desmond Ridder on a lot of plays. He was targeted 9 times in that game and caught 7 passes. When you look at his whole body of work throughout the season, he had 66 receptions for 746 yards, which is actually, impressive because a lot of this stuff is really, really quiet numbers. When you look at the games that he's had, when he played against New Orleans, the first game of the season, he had 5 catches for 74. He had a touchdown against the Rams, 8 for 86, 3 for 54 against Seattle, 2 for 17, which was, pretty much one of the lower games. Against Cleveland, Tampa Bay 4 for 35, San Francisco 3 for 40. One of the worst games of the season. He had 1 catch for 90 yards in Cincinnati, but you know how that Cincinnati game was. I mean, we weren't beating Cincinnati in that game, but he bounced back in the Carolina game, had 4 catches for 31. When we played the Chargers, had 3 for 23. Like I said, these are a lot of small numbers, but they're very quiet, and they added up to something pretty, significant for a rookie. 5 for 38 at Carolina, 1 catch for 2 yards against Chicago, which was actually surprising, but I can't remember the whole ins and outs of that game. Washington, 2 for 29, had one of the bigger games of the season for him. He had 6 for 95 against Pittsburgh, 7 for 70 against New Orleans. So that's 2 games back to back. He had over 70 yards against New Orleans. Looked like he's going to be a problem for the Saints for years to come. The biggest game he had was the Baltimore game. He had 7 catches for 96, and against Arizona had 5 for 47. All that adds up to 66 catches for 746, which is actually, very, very respectable for a rookie. He's probably on pace to get about 800 yards, and hopefully he'll be, able to do that and top off a pretty good rookie season. You're looking at probably about 71, 72 catches for 80 yards. You're probably looking at something like that for the upcoming game. Because I think with this season or the game by game with him and Desmond Ridder, they just get better. It seems like they just get better. And it's going to be phenomenal. And then I don't want to talk about this yet, maybe a little bit down the road. It's going to be really good to see what they're going to do when Kyle Pitts come back. Him, Kyle Pitts, Desmond Ridder, I think they're going to have a really, really tough time, playing against these guys, defensively. You're going to have a problem with these kids, so it's going to be really interesting to see how that continues. Drake London, phenomenal pickup for the Falcons, 8th pick overall. A lot of people didn't think they were going to go wide receiver. And in some cases, I actually thought that it was a bad pick, considering, not necessarily with him, but considering what they were doing throughout the season with running the ball so much. I was like, okay, why would you get a receiver like Drake London when we're running the ball a lot? But I see what they're trying to do. It's going to be a balanced attack. Don't make no mistake. I think that Coach Arthur Smith is actually showing what he can do once he gets more pieces that he wants under his belt, where you're going to see both. You're going to see some passing, you're going to see some running, and it's going to be a dominant performance. Speaking of dominant performances, we're going to jump over to Tyler Allgeier. Tyler Allgeier, 186 carries, for 900 yards. You got to understand, this guy is 16th in the league in yards for a rookie. That's really, really good. 13th in the league in the average per carry with 4.8. Something about this kid is just very, very, very phenomenal. I did not see this coming. I knew he was a 5th-round pick. He played against my Georgia Southern Eagles the year before coming into the league, so I knew that there was something here. But when you look at what this kid was able to do throughout his season, this is really, really nice. Really nice to see that we got a running back that looks like he's going to be a problem in the NFL. When you look at his first few games, they were pretty quiet. Well, the first 2 games was pretty quiet until that Cleveland game. Once the Cleveland game came, then they'll say, okay, we got something. First game he played, 10 carries for 30 yards, 3 yards per carry. Then he played against Seattle, 6 carries for 25. The Cleveland game was the game that we said, okay, wait a minute. This kid is on to something. I think it was like that second or third quarter where the Falcons decided to just start running the ball against Cleveland, and he ended up having 10 carries for 84 yards. I mean, that's all just on 10 carries. Longest can run for 42 yards, and he also had a reception for 20. So he had a complete game for 104 yards. Tampa Bay, 13 for 45, not bad. San Francisco, 15 carries for 51. Cincinnati game, he had 16 carries for 50. The Carolina game in overtime, it went to overtime. He had 14 carries for 39 yards. So it's a little bit upside down on that one, but hey, still not too bad. The not Carolina, but the Chargers game is where he nearly had 100 yards for rushing, 10 carries for 99. I mean, this guy was he had a long run for 44. I mean, this kid was showing that he could do something. The Carolina game, once again, went back to Carolina for 8 for 20. That was the rainy game, I think. We were playing in rain, but still, not too bad, but a little bit upside down on that with 2.5 yards a carry. Another pretty good game against Chicago, 8 for 55. In Washington, 11 for 54. Another pretty solid game. Pittsburgh, 10 for 52. The New Orleans game, this was the game where it was pretty much his breakout game. 17 carries for 139 and 1 touchdown. This is when we knew for certain, even though all of this was going on throughout the season, even with the Chargers game, I think the New Orleans game was at the point was like, okay, we got a RB1 at this point. We started to see it around the Washington game and the Pittsburgh game, but when you saw that New Orleans game, it was like, okay, we got an RB1, and it continued to show. Because in the Baltimore game, like I said, that is a defense that's probably the best defense that we've really seen all season as far as talent. And he had 18 carries for 74 yards. Then turned right back around against the Arizona game. He had 20 carries for 83. You get a little bit better on the offensive line as far as run blocking goes. This kid could easily have over 1,000 yards next season. I mean, this is something that is very phenomenal when you look at the big umbrella of things. The Desmond Ridder, Drake London, and the Tyler Allgeier. We're looking at 3 guys that are all rookies, that are cornerstones of the offense, that are looking really good. You bring Kyle Pitts back, you bring a number 2 receiver in, you get a little bit of beefy up on that offensive line. And even the offensive line itself, I actually haven't been doing that bad this year. But if you get a little bit more talent, especially at the number 2 receiver position, along with, Kyle Pitts returning, this could be a really dangerous team going forward. Very dangerous team. Now, I know a lot of people say, oh, we need to beef up the defense. We need better defense. I agree. I think we need a pass rush. I'm not going to sit here and say that we don't. But I think the defense overall, when you look at what the Falcons have done, giving up the points that they've given up, I'm not really that big on revamping everything. Yeah, you want to get some pieces, don't get me wrong. But the defense is not really that much of an issue when they're giving up. Let's go back. 17 points, 18 points, 19 points, 16 points, 13 points, 15, 17. The only time they really gave up a lot of points was in the beginning of the season when they were trying to find themselves. They gave up 27 and 31 in the beginning. They gave up 35 at Cincinnati. They gave up 34 in a win against Carolina. Every other game from there, they gave up 24 against Chicago. But every other game then, you're in the teens. 20, 15, 14, 17, 17, 15, 13, 16, 18, 17, 19. And I've been saying this from the beginning. If you give up anywhere between 21 or 17 to 21 points, around that average, you should win every game. And with the offense that we're building right now with Ritter, London, and Allgeier, we should be able to put up more than 20 points. We should be able to. Now, these guys are rookies, so it's not going to be, anything that's going to be, overnight, like right away. It's going to take some time. And I'm not talking about a lot of time. I expect next season, these guys are going to be, in year 2, these guys should be on point to where they're going to be the guys that's going to be the cornerstone of this offense. Like I said, you bring Kyle Pitts back, get a solid number 2 receiver, we're going to be on point. So shout out to these 3 guys, 3 Atlanta Falcons rookies. They're going to be special. I believe it. And it's just going to be a beautiful thing to see. A lot of us as fans are really just trying to hang on something to complain about. Why are we winning games? Why are we? You don't lose games. You don't go out there to lose games. I'm sorry. You just don't. And most time you do it, don't work out. Look at the 76ers. You know what I'm saying? Look at the Jets. I think they tried to tank at one point. It just doesn't work. So, most teams that do tank, it don't really work. It just don't. I mean, you may have one off 2 here or there, but there's been teams that have been trying to tank for years and got no success out of it. So I'm going to get up out of here. If you like this commentary, hit the like button, share the podcast, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let me know what you think about these 3 these 2 rookies, the quarterback, the running back, and the wide receiver. Click that link down in the description if you want to catch Bet US. This show has been brought to you by Bet US. Click that link, put in $100, get a 125% bet book bonus. Check all that out. You can bet on all these games that are coming up in the playoffs. You can bet on the national championship game. Georgia's playing TCU, and everything under that umbrella: MMA, NBA, esports. I'm going to get out of here. Anchor, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, YouTube, and Rumble. Find me on there. All the links down in the description. Come through and support your boy. And I'm going to get up out of here. You guys have a fantastic Monday. You guys take it easy. You guys be blessed. Peace.